enough doubt in this tiny shell, and everything is grown up tight. There's no room to breathe, and nobody is watching at night. Who wanna rise
Well, hello. Oh, there's a bit of echo there. We need to mute that straight away. Hello, folks, and welcome to the live stream regarding the not the video. I wanted a still. I'll do that again. Regarding the LiveGear Caplink VC326, a bit of a mouthful, but it is something that I've just recently purchased and used on a couple of live streams. So much so that I thought it would be of interest to other fellow streamers and video people to see if it would be any use to you. I've found it extremely useful so far, and I'm hoping that other people will find it the same way. So if you're watching live, I'd love some interaction. That'd be great if you would. If you'd let me know where you're watching from and what your interest might be. But what I'm going to do is, in typical vMix fashion, and being a vMix user, I'll give you a run through of exactly what the studio looks like. I've taken the opportunity of trying to make this as compact as possible in a shepherd's hut, as you can see here. Which one is it? That one. In a shepherd's hut. I'll try the other one. No, that's the view from the shepherd's hut. Let's try that one. There we go. And so that's at the other end of the shepherd's hut over there. And we are running as much as we can off batteries to give you an idea of what it's like as a unit. Now, the unit itself is just underneath here. It's just there, but I've got various things that pictures and clips which are much more close up for you to view and look at. Now, what I do want to do, as I say, is just run through this setup and explain everything. But before I get any further, I just want to make it clear that I paid full price for this. I purchased it. They haven't asked me to make a video or contributed in any way. So the information that I'm going to share is the information I got from the LiveGear themselves, and I'm happy to share what I've learned with you and my experience so far. So hopefully that will be of interest to you. So let's just go around the studio here. Typical, as you might find. Obviously, I've got a laptop here, which is a Nitro V15. It is a Thunderbolt 4 unit. It's an i5 and it's running a GeForce RTX. I think it's a 3070. But at the moment, it's ticking along nicely with the GPU memory at 1% and the CPU at 13%. To give you an idea of the power it's drawing, or the pressure it's putting on the processor. We have a little mini Stream Deck here, which is connected to this, obviously, and I'm using Central Control as my controlling system. That is my little multi-view monitor, which is connected to the program out of the Caplink box. We obviously have a little pad here, which is showing me the social comments, if any social comments or questions come in, so I can draw them in and then send them through to vMix. The laptop is running standard vMix HD, so it's not even running the 4K. However, just to show you how good the unit is, all the cameras that I'm using are outputting 4K. So that's a main camera is a Sony ZV-1. And the other three cameras are very underrated Sony, let's get this right, X1000V's action cams, which I've used for a few years now, and they're all outputting 4K as well. And I found these one of the most underrated tiny cameras that you can get because you can power them off battery. They take microphone inputs should you wish to do so. They're small, compact, and I've always found them extremely easy to work with. So they will do all the things that us guys really want them to do. Okay, so that's the sort of the studio setup. I've got a Power Oak battery, which you can probably see just behind there. That is a 50,000 milliampere battery, and that is powering all the USB connections. So it's powering the cameras, and well, that's basically it actually, because the pad here is running off the laptop because I realized the battery was flat on the pad, and the monitor is got a battery on the back as well. It's just a little 7-inch Lilliput monitor. So as I say, I paid full price for this. If you have any questions that you want to drop into uh, the chat there, I'm monitoring YouTube chat. Unfortunately, I'm too far away from the router to pick up a second signal for LinkedIn, so I might have to flip between screens to see if there's any questions on LinkedIn. So if you can watch it on YouTube, that would be great. And if you've got any questions in particular, just start the question with a Q. Right, so let's start with the unboxing and see what you actually get in the box. As you can see, it's a very small box that arrives. The item does weigh less than 500 grams, and you just get a 8K, I think it is, short USB-C lead, a little folding sheet of basic instructions, but some of that data is useful, which I'll bring into the stream shortly, and then obviously the actual LiveGear itself. It seems to be a metal housing. It does, yes, give off a bit of heat, but I've used it twice in anger now, several hours at a time, and it just gets warm. It doesn't get particularly hot or troublesome. Now, it's got 6 inputs. As you can see, it's got 2 SDI inputs and 4 HDMI. The HDMI inputs are 4K, and the SDI is just HD, and it will only accept 4 inputs at once. I don't have any SDI cameras as it happens, so I haven't tried plugging in all 6 to see which one takes priority. But as I understand, the SDIs will take priority, and they will go through on output 1 and 2, leaving the other HDMIs out on 3 and 4. As I turn it over, you see it's got a nice padded stand at the bottom there, so it doesn't clank on this wooden surface. And it's just got 2 sockets on the end, one of which is the USB-C connection to your laptop or computer, and that's Apple, Android, and Linux. And the other is an additional power insert button. And I'll come on to that in a moment to explain a bit more about how that is intended to be used. So that is basically it. And it arrived last week from China, I believe, or Hong Kong, one of the two. It arrived last week, and for an event which I was doing, where I used 4 cameras. Well, in fact, we ended up using 6 cameras, and this was the main unit. Let me just make sure that volume isn't too loud. So what we had here, this was a car event, and let's just turn, where are we? A car event. You pull that down a bit just in case it's a bit too loud. And the mini studio, which is basically what I've got here actually, was set up in the bus that you'll see in the American bus in a second. And that had 3 cameras coming into the LiveGear unit and going into the laptop. And then I had my Magewell Director Mini as a roaming camera, and with that I had 3 cameras going into the Director Mini, so I would be altering the angle or the shot from the Director Mini, which was then transmitted via an Axoon CineView to the receiver, which is at the other end of that car park behind me on the video there. You can't quite see it with just that little sign that's just over my right hand shoulder, that sign there, and then directly opposite where these cars are coming in was the bus where everything was placed. And so I'd be walking around interviewing people and then changing cameras to show the various vehicles close up. I think there's an example probably coming up any second. And Jess, my partner in crime, was in the bus, and he was then switching between the output that I was giving him plus the other 3 cameras, all of which were going through the LiveGear unit. So there were four inputs, four HDMI inputs going through the LiveGear unit, all coming in from four Axoon Cine views, and that was the result of the live stream, which continued for some time actually. Now let's just flip over to some close-ups, and I'll go through that. Um, it works automatically, I'm told, with all the key software that we all like to use. So obviously it's working with vMix at the moment, but OBS obviously, and the variety of Mac-based software. The advantage for me, as far as I'm concerned, as I intend to use it, would be it enables me now to take a laptop rather than a big PC. I can have four HDMI inputs, and I can also then expand my other inputs with a router using NDI, so I can then have considerably more inputs should I need them. So that's my particular question. Do keep your questions coming in. I see there's one coming from Radio Respeto. I'll be coming on to the questions at the end of the sort of slides, if I may. So the main reason I went for it was, like most people, I end up with a whole pile of these dongles. Of course, we're all in that same situation where you can't use the same dongle usually on the board, because you've got to make sure it's separate USB channels and all the other various things that go along with it. Plus, of course, at the maximum, because I've got three USB sockets on this particular laptop, I'd be stuck with three inputs. Of course, then you can start getting into USB expander ports, powered docks, but it's more cables, more things to go wrong, and of course it just gets more and more confusing. And so it's much nicer and much easier, particularly as you can see here, just to have the cameras just going into the back of this unit, just there, and then that is the program out, which is going to this little multi-view here. Lost my screen. So that's my reason for doing it. So dongles are our best friend and worst enemy, aren't they? Let's face it. If one goes down on you, then you're really stuck. And they all have their own foibles, and they're bulky, and they can get hot, etc., etc. So this is one of the reasons this particular item was attractive to me. And when I was chatting to the contact in China, he was giving me all the information that I needed, which I found very, very useful. Now, so this is the box itself, and let's just go through a couple of close-ups. Danson was my contact. He was very helpful, as I say, and he put my fears at rest as regards what it would do in the performance. So as you can see there, it's got the four HDMI outs, which can go out to various monitors, of course, if you need that in your studio and your setup, or it could be sending back to perhaps if one of the inputs is a PowerPoint, I guess it could go back to the main screen or projector on the PowerPoint. So you've got the signal coming straight in, you've got it coming straight into your streaming device, which is what you want. Then next to that, you've got the microphone and headphone sockets, 3.5mm sockets. The microphone is also line compatible as well, so it's mic and line. Then on the back, I guess, we have the two SDI ins, and then you've got the program out. Now, the program out will only work with Thunderbolt and USB4, I think, basically because the power it needs and also the data transfer. We'll have a look at those details in a second. And then you've got, next to that, you've got the four HDMI ins. I'm going to just push this question through because I think I've got the answer to it. Can you power the unit with an external battery? The power question is, the unit is powered by the connection to the laptop. So currently this unit at the moment is being powered off the USB4 connection on this laptop. If you wanted to, if you have, I'll come on to a later slide because the data is on the later slide, but basically if you were using a laptop which you could power via USB, you can actually plug an additional power block into the socket that next to it, the PD socket. I think it might be on the next slide. Now it's program out. There you go. So the capture USB-C goes to your device, your laptop. But if your laptop can be powered by that USB-C, you can plug an additional power device into the other USB-C socket, and it needs to be, I believe, 5 amps. So a 5 amp USB power, it will then power the unit and it will also charge your laptop. The explanation on their website, when we go to their website, is slightly easy to misunderstand with the English, but basically, as I understand it, that is the situation. So in this particular case, in my particular case at the moment, this laptop is powering the unit. You can see it's got a green light there, and that's fine. It's a one-way trip. But if this laptop could be run from USB, I would then need to put a separate power supply into this other PD socket, and that would power this, and it would power the laptop. Plus, the light would change from green to red. So that's that situation. Moving on. So these are the required capture data rates depending if you're using YUV2 or MJPEG. Now, as I say, at the moment, I've got 4 cameras coming into the unit at 4K. So and they're YUV20 YUV2 as well. So that's 16 gigabits coming into the box. That is then in turn going through to the laptop, and then obviously another signal's coming out to give me the program out on my multi-view, which is, as I say, up here, which is my multi-view up here. So that is my program out. So we're probably looking around 20-25 gigabits coming in and out on the USB-C cable, which is there. Now, this is why they say that only USB4 and Thunderbolt will give you enough data through to give you that external program out. So currently I am using, as I say, vMix HD on the laptop, not 4K, and that enables me one additional full screen out. And so that is being sent to the LiveGear unit and then going on to the multi-view. However, if you've only got USB-C 3 and of the various flavors that you can see on the screen there, it will do everything else that you want it to do. So it'll take all the audio inputs, it'll take all the HMI or SDI inputs, it will give you your HDMI throughs, but it will not be able to give you the data to run that external program out, which actually I think is pretty good, really, isn't it? Pretty good indeed. So in conclusion, this is the situation then. So ultimately, it gives you 2 SDI ins, but the maximum with SDI is 1080-60. It will give you 4 HDMI ins at 4K, 4K 30 at YUV422, or 4K 60 at 420. Whatever comes into the 4 HDMI ins will be passed straight through to the outs. If you have an SDI plugged into 1 or 2, it will dominate the HDMI output. So if your SDIs are in there, they will come out in 1 and 2. The HDMI program out, so that's what I was just saying about the multi-view. The HDMI program out requires USB4 stroke Thunderbolt for obviously the data rate. You will not get an output using USB 3. But, you know, not bad. If you've got a USB 3 laptop, you can still use this and get 4 inputs. So it's still well worth having. Audio analog input is obviously mic line at 48K. You've got the capture, Type-C capture has to be a USB 3 or 4 Thunderbolt cable for obvious reasons. The PD power, which is what I was referring to, is the auto voltage power negotiation, and it gives you the various variable colored lights. And so in other words, if you wanted to add additional power to the unit, you can plug a 2 to 5 amp power supply unit into it. And if you want it to charge your laptop or your pad, I guess, of some kind, then that's what will be required. So you get the output through the USB-C. And the power requirement for the actual unit itself is just 1.5 to 2 amps if you were to run it from a power bank, which I think is also one of the questions that came in. So yes, you could run it from a power bank, and then obviously use the USB-C socket. Although having said that, I mean, most USB-Cs 3s and above would be able to send power out, I presume. So yeah, a little bit confused on that, but anyway, it should be that should be the case. And the final thing, which you can't see on the website, which I measured up myself, the actual dimensions of it, it's 21 centimeters by 9 centimeters by 3 centimeters, and it weighs 436 grams. And as I say, if I just show you it now, it's been sitting there underneath this pad. It's lukewarm. It's not particularly getting stressed in any shape or form. So if you have any questions, if you can add them on the YouTube feed, that would be great. I'd appreciate that. So we've had the unboxing, we've had the video from the from the show that I did, which was this show here. So I'm walking around this particular car talking to its owner using a action camera, and that action camera is streaming to the Magewell Director Mini, and the Magewell Director Mini is outputting to an Axoon, and the Axoon is transmitting to the receiver, which is in the school bus, which is just around the corner from where you see the camera looking at the moment. In fact, just the receiving aerial is just above where the guy in the orange safety jacket is, and that worked exceedingly well for us. In fact, the receiving aerial is just behind that guy with the orange jacket, and that was the PTZ camera that we were using. So, are there any additional questions before we go over? Well, of course, yeah. I mean, the ultimate question is, of course, how much is it, and where do you get it from? So, I was shocked to find it's only $299. Which I'm sorry to say, Magewell, that's less than one of your single input 4K dongles. So it obviously makes it exceedingly attractive as a item. And the website is livegear.id, and the contact will be Danson, probably, if you drop them a note. And Danson will pick up the conversation, and I'm sure will answer any further questions that I'm struggling to answer at this particular moment in time. I can't see any other questions. I'm just going to have a quick peep on LinkedIn if I can get a signal. I am some distance away from the router. A good almost 40 meters away from the router, so I'm struggling to pick up a signal. So that's why I ran a cable through to the vMix machine. No, I'm struggling to get a signal. Let's just see if I can see it on the laptop. Let's just have a look out of the window, shall we? Go and see what's going on outside for a second. Just talk amongst yourselves while I check my screens. Where are we? So I'm just seeing if there's anything on LinkedIn. Okay, there's no comments coming through on LinkedIn. That's fine. And streaming on YouTube. There's only a couple of people watching on YouTube as well. That's great. Okay, well, I hope that's been of interest to people. Right, so that is about it. As I say, I'm mega impressed with this unit. I don't think there's anything else that I can add really to the story, to my experience. Both Jess and I were extremely pleased with the unit. It arrived literally the day before the stream that we were going to do at this car event, this car meet, and up until that point, I was struggling, as I explained at the very beginning, having multiple dongles and all the problems that that brings with them. Whereas this was superb. We just mounted at the four Axoon receivers on a multiple tripod, or put one outside, of course, for the long distance one. But the other three cameras are all on CineView, and everything worked like a dream. So I'm very pleased. So without further ado, folks, I hope that's been of interest to you. Do check out um, the LiveGear website, livegear.id. And as I say, Danson will be the person who will be in contact with you, and his English is very good. There's no reason to be concerned from that point of view. Everything he told me is completely genuine and um, has been extremely useful. And certainly, if I have any problems, I'll come back to him. I did ask at the very end was if what the warranty was on the unit, and it was standard 12 months warranty. But they seem very pleased with how it's going for them. And certainly, when you look at their website, there are actually quite a few interesting other little goodies on there as well. So I'm sure that'll be more interesting of interest to a lot of live streamers like myself. So on that note, folks, I think I will say my farewells and wish you all the best and happy streaming. Bye.